Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Josh Nahosa, and I am an independent advisor representative for SWAN DFW, which stands for Sleep Well at Night Dallas Fort Worth, and I am here with the merchandise expertise extraordinaire, all the adjectives. It is Hector and Josh.
Good morning.
Hector is wearing our shirt. Of course,
Yes.
That's for SWAN DFW Financial Solutions. So I guess we're an official company now because we now have a shirt.
And we have pins. So there you go.
And pants. Hector is a certified financial planner, which is the top mark in our industry.
That's right.
He started this, a little over 11 years ago now?
2011?
Well, it did.
2014. So
Yeah. The
I
math.
started dreaming about it in 2011. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. Math, clearly a strong suit. Time awareness, clearly a strong suit of Hector's, but he's been doing this for 11 years. He's been in the industry since the 90s.
95.
Since the Cowboys were good. So
That's
you
right.
know it's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah. As a matter of fact, when we moved up here, your mom and I went to we didn't know it then, but the last Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl parade. And we almost didn't go because we said, we'll just go next year after they win the Super Bowl.
There you go. Good thing you capitalized on that. Today, we're talking all about artificial intelligence.
Yes.
It's a hot button topic. Thought we would talk about it. None of what we talk about is investable advice. Talk to a financial professional like us.
Like us, yeah.
Before you do anything or take any action on anything. We're just strictly talking about broad terms and stuff like that.
That's exactly right. We just sometimes we want to kind of try to put what's happening in perspective, and that's what we're going to try to do today. And I like the way you said that. This is not an actionable go buy this or just this is what's happening. Talk to an advisor, make sure your risk tolerance and how long before you need your money and stuff. But maybe something that would kind of let you understand where I think we are in time.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about things artificial intelligence can do.
And just
some
doing.
Things to look forward to, stuff like that. So why don't you start us with kind of what is it doing for us right now that we may not think about?
Many people think that artificial intelligence is something that's way in the future, like robotics and all that. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But today, I have a list, we're not going to go through all of them, but a list of like 11 things that AI is involved in our life now. Smartphones. If you've ever said,
hey Siri.
Hey Siri, then you know that it's understanding. Social media, it helps the algorithms and stuff go out and try to find people that have the same kind of interest. E-commerce, if you've ever bought something, or scarier still, if you've ever talked on the phone about buying something and all of a sudden all of these products show up that you were just talking about them. Streaming services, like many of our folks are using Spotify and Netflix, and once it understands what it is you like, it starts recommending things. The easy one is navigation. If you punch in a destination, it not only tells you how to get there, it tells you about how long it's going to take, and it may offer alternate routes based on the traffic that it's getting. So that's huge. And then some home automation stuff. Thermostats sometimes are working off artificial intelligence. And so these are things that are happening right now. And coincidentally, the list that I got came from artificial intelligence, a ChatGPT question, and it fired off 12 items that we're using AI right now in our lives. So thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so I think we think of this we think of AI as this brand new thing.
Right.
It's this new shiny toy that no one's ever used before. In reality, we've used it quite a lot. You just don't think about it as being super upfront. It's more as like a little helper thing in the background. Like in your streaming services, it's like recommended you watch or listen to or the Maps app, whether it's Google Maps or just your standard Maps app or Waze or whatever. All of those have AI built in to help it function.
That's right.
We don't necessarily maybe think about it because it's not up front and they're not saying that, but that's kind of what it is. That's how it magically knows what you like or what you might like or whatever.
Yeah. And even your mechanic has a tool that goes in and test, because everything is electronic now, and tests all the things. It can tell you what's wrong and what's not working. But I think where people get maybe sometimes overwhelmed or kind of roll their eyes, or when all of the promises of like robotics and self-driving cars and all those things come up, and people say, I've been hearing about this for a long time and nothing's happened. In our generation, in the last 20 or 30 years, we've had a couple of things, especially the internet, where people were talking and saying things and we didn't understand. And when we would ask a specific question, they couldn't give us an answer, but they just kind of knew what was happening. And in the late 90s and the early 2000s, we started hearing about this thing called the internet. And the proponents of the internet were out there saying, this is going to change your life. And we kept saying, how? And they would say things like, you're going to be able to balance your checking account. You're going to be able to read on your computer, books on your computer. And I remember thinking, I don't, but a lot of people do like to read at the beach. I said, who's going to haul off a big old, back then the laptops were even big, who's going to haul that off to the beach so you can, And so there was a lot of things that we were asking and they didn't have a specific answer, but they could see that it was going to change a lot of the things that we were going to do. And that's kind of where we are right now. For the folks that are doing the Jensen Huangs of the world, who are at the forefront of artificial intelligence, are saying what is getting ready to happen is a major evolution or revolution about the way we do life. One of the things that he talked about, actually he didn't, but one of the commentators did, but it makes sense. He says, artificial intelligence is going to drive down the divorce rate.
How?
That was funny. What? I heard that and I said, what? Stopped and rewound. Robots, and there's already some, in production, and we're not talking about robots at work. We're talking about robots at home. We're going to be able to do things that nobody likes to do but have to be done. Like load the dishwasher, like run the dishwasher, like clean the house, like make the bed, like walk the dog. All the things that many couples fight over, get frustrated with because their partner won't do it. Those kind of things will be able to be done by a robot. And he called it a Groot. Robot in Groot, one of the characters in
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
it's the tree.
It's the tree, and I thought that's funny. But Groot stands for General Robotics Technologies. Is what's going to revolutionize that part. But to run a robot, or for a robot to be able to do things, imagine all of the artificial intelligence. It's got to be able to see or perceive what's around it. It's got to understand what the command is. It's got to understand how to move its limbs to do that. So there's a lot of AI that goes into that once it's programmed to do those things. But what a cool thing to have. And we're talking about not decades, but matter of years before we're able to buy or rent one of these things. And like everything else, it's going to be very expensive when they come out. It's like the cell phones when they first came out, or computers when they first, but eventually they'll get to where everybody will have one in their homes.
So to backtrack to the first name that Hector said about 4 minutes ago, Jensen Huang, for those of you that may not know, is the CEO of NVIDIA, which is one of the big chip drivers that drives AI.
Yeah. And again, this is not, I go by NVIDIA. Sorry.
To go back to the robot thing, we've kind of seen it on display. Yeah. Another company that's not an endorsement to buy necessarily, but Elon Musk and Tesla had a demonstration. I think we talked about it.
Yes, we did.
About 6 months ago as we record this, give or take, where they demonstrated robots that would do all of the things that Hector just described.
Yeah.
If you think of like a Star Wars, I think it was C-3PO.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, where they would go around and they could do chores for you or knock out whatever. You could ask them, what's the weather today? But they're like humanoid. They like walk around. They could play chess. They're historically very bad at rock, paper, scissors, I think was one of the main takeaways.
But soon and very soon they'll be able to beat you.
Yeah. So we've kind of seen it on display. Like those things walked around at the event and were able to interact with people and work. So it's not as far away maybe as you would think if you're thinking the timeline for that is 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah. I would shorten the timeline to thinking when that's feasible, potentially.
Yeah. A couple of years. Last year at this AI convention that's going on in San Francisco, they had robots that were able to lift Jell-O cubes. And if you've ever dropped a Jell-O cube, hopefully everybody knows what Jell-O is. Those are hard to pick up for us humans. And so they're that sensitive now that they can spot it, feel it, put enough pressure on it, not to squish it, and then get it where it needs to. It's absolutely amazing. It's amazing to watch, and I can't even imagine the technology that has to go into it to do it. But the bigger thing, right? So now we're kind of okay. So now this will be real life stuff. But the bigger thing is you want to be in these kind of groundbreaking, life-altering technologies. And I'm talking like going back to the 1900s. You'd want to be with a guy named Ford. So he started making a mass-produced car that everybody would be able to afford, or the people that worked for him would be able to afford. You think about the railroads back in the 1800s when they had a railroad that would go from city to city. But then somebody said, well, why don't we build a railroad from the East Coast to the West Coast? That's a real interesting story too. But when they connected those things, all of a sudden it opened up the whole country, because now we could ship material, food, one way and ship back gold, because that's all San Francisco had for. It's not true, but all of a sudden we had connected the country. These are groundbreaking things, and I suspect that we're right in the middle of that right now with AI. And if you could go back and invest in railroads back then, you'd probably go, yeah, that would be it's kind of a no-brainer. And that's, I think, kind of where we are here in this thing. Or if you could go back into the 1980s, and there was a guy named Gates who was messing around in his garage with a thing called a computer, a laptop computer. That's the transitional and transformational things, and I firmly believe that we're in the middle of one. But when you're in the middle of it, sometimes it's hard to see it.
We're right on the front edge of this artificial intelligence thing. We're not real sure what it's going to look like in the future. Pretty sure it's going to be helpful. In ways that we can't even imagine currently. A lot like the internet.
Yep.
No way you would have envisioned the internet being what it is now.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
Right.
When it first came out.
Yeah. And because when you're looking at these kind of events, transformational events, you have an idea, but it's usually not going to be exactly like you envision it, because things change, and you have to be on the front end of things. Look at Netflix. Netflix's biggest competitor when it came out was this thing called Blockbuster. Mm-hmm. And Netflix started saying, we will just send you a DVD of the movie. And I remember they said, well, you can subscribe. That was a brand new word. And we will send you up to 5 movies a month, or I forget what it was. And Blockbuster just never saw the change coming. And now look what Netflix is. And so, yeah, it's we need to understand where we are. And we need to understand that when these things are transitioning, any bad news, like in the late 90s, Well, first off, in the late 90s, when the internet thing, everybody started changing their name. We would be swan.com, because if you had a .com after your name, you were a internet company, and the people would buy you without even understanding what you were doing. And I remember somebody saying in 1999, with companies that had like 100 employees, trading at billion or hundreds of millions of dollars, and somebody said, well, this is a new paradigm. The company doesn't have to make money. It just has to have a really good idea. That was wrong then. It's wrong now. It was wrong 100 years ago. A company has to produce a product or sell a subscription or do something that makes a profit so it can pay its employees and grow. And that's these companies that are doing this now are doing that. They're for real companies. They're not pie in the sky. This is what's going to happen, because I think many of them learned their lesson 25 years ago.
So kind of to wrap all this up into a nice bow.
I like bows.
So
I don't wear bows, but they're nice.
Yeah. What should people do with this information of AI, it's coming, it's here, there's some uses, we're kind of already using it, not going to get away from it. So now what?
Yeah. First, I would say don't be scared of it. Embrace it. It's going to help medical, pharmaceutical companies develop drugs faster. It's going to be good. It's in war. We're going to have jets. We have jets today that are being flown by pilots that are not in the jet. So if the jet goes down, we don't lose a life. And it's a hard thing for a family to have a young man in one of those jets. So embrace it. It's going to change. It's going to be different. Check with your advisor and see if your particular risk tolerance has some room for maybe a little bit of AI in your portfolio. You never want to put all of your eggs in one basket. And this isn't a recommendation to do it, but check with your advisor, because it's coming and it's going to change the way we live. And if you're my age, you go, man, that's going to be pretty cool. But if you're your age, in 20 years, it's going to be amazing how this thing will have simplified or maybe simplified and changed what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah. So if you would like to talk to us,
please do.
We have a couple different ways that you can contact us. First way is via phone number that is 888-792-6339. That spells out 888-SWAN-DFW. And our email address is info@swandfw.net. That's info, like short for information, at swan, like the bird, dfw.net. All of those will be in the description wherever it is you are watching or listening.
Yeah. Give us a like, share this with your friends, and don't be afraid, call us and let's talk about if this would be something that might fit in your portfolio.
So, one more question.
Sure.
The most helpful question, maybe, of the day. It's March. It is March Madness.
Yes.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I'm going to put your AI on the spot, I guess.
Okay.
Who does AI think is going to win the men's March Madness tournament? And then we'll check again in the middle of April and see how correct that is. There'll be a seamless cut, and we'll have our answer right now.
Momentarily. It says Houston will boost your bracket, and Tennessee will bust your bracket. So
interesting.
Because I am from Texas, and even though one of us doesn't like anything from Houston, I think U of H, I think they will win the tournament.
There you go. Based on AI's.
Based on on a quick search of AI, some of the seeding and odds-on stuff. So let's see how I do. Maybe I'll win that. What is it? $quadrillion?
Yeah, from Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Favorite guy.
My favorite guy.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Thank you.
Catch y'all in the next one.
Yeah. Thank you. God bless.
The preceding content is informational only and based on information available when created. It is not an offer or solicitation, nor is it tax or legal advice. It does not consider your financial circumstances and objectives and may not be suitable for you.